Hey, if you've ever found yourself wrestling with doubts or questioning your long-held beliefs or feeling like your faith is unraveling at the seams, this episode's for you. Hi there, my name is Todd Rhoades, and you are listening to the Healthy Church Staff Podcast. I'm one of the co-founders over at chemistrystaffing.com, and I am so glad that you have joined us here today. Today we're venturing into some territory that could be both terrifying and transformative, and it's the wilderness of a faith crisis. Now, faith crises can be triggered by a variety of events. Maybe it's a personal tragedy. Maybe it's exposure to new ideas. Maybe a moral failing of you or someone close to you. Or maybe just simply a growing sense of disillusionment with your role or with your church. Sometimes you know exactly why it's happening, and other times you can't pinpoint it. But whatever the cause, the experience can be the very least disorienting, but it can be isolating and it can be deeply painful. But I want you to know today that if you're going through this, or if you've gone through it before, you're not alone. Many faithful Christians, including pastors, and ministry leaders, have definitely walked through this valley of doubt and emerged on the other side with a stronger and more authentic faith. What can you do if you're in the midst of a faith crisis? I'm not an expert in this, and I've never been through like a really horrible crisis of faith. The faith journey is a roller coaster. You have your ups and your downs, so I'm no expert in this area, but let me share some things that I think that I found helpful kind of on the roller coaster that I've been on for the last 30, 35 years in ministry. First of all, acknowledge your doubts. Don't try to bury them or pretend they don't exist. Matter of fact, if you do that, you can only do that for so long before you just have to wake up and be honest with yourself and with God about what you're struggling with. Matter of fact, if you try and push those feelings and those doubts down and you bury those, when they do surface, it's going to be much harder and much deeper for you to work your way out of. First of all, acknowledge your doubts. Second of all, seek some wise counsel. Talk to a trusted friend, maybe a mentor, another pastor, or a counselor, but don't go through this alone. There are people who care about you and want to support you. Now, I want to take a little side break here, because I know as a pastor, as a church worker, it's hard to know who to trust. You can't usually talk to anybody in your church. A lot of times you can't talk to anybody in your denomination or your tribe. So maybe a counselor or someone that's disconnected from where you are, but someone still that you trust. And let me just throw it out here. I do some coaching and counseling along the way too. If you need somebody to talk to, a lot of times it's just pastors are just lonely and they don't know who they can trust and who they can talk to. Reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation with you at least. Podcast at chemistrystaffing.com. Okay, back on track here. So acknowledge your doubts. Seek some wise counsel. Explore those questions. Number 3, don't be afraid to ask those really hard questions. Read books. There are tons of books that you can read, most likely on what you're going through. Listen to podcasts. Engage in conversations with people who maybe hold some different perspectives. The search for truth can be a powerful catalyst for growth. Don't shy away from your questions. And number 4, hold on to hope. Even when you feel lost and confused, you have to remember that God is faithful. He's still there, even when you can't feel His presence. I love we sing it at our church. There's a line in a song that says something to that. I'll butcher this, I'm sure, and I'm the old worship guy. But it's, I don't know what you're doing, but I know what you've done. Okay? Don't be afraid to hold on to hope. Trust that He's working in your life. Even if you don't know what He's doing, have faith because you know that He's done great things before, even in the midst of your doubt. Okay? Number 5, don't give up your spiritual disciplines. Don't abandon your spiritual practices like prayer and Bible reading and worship. They may feel forced when you're going through this rough patch, but don't abandon them. These can be really anchors in the storm. They can provide comfort. They can provide guidance and a sense of connection to God. Even if it feels cold and lifeless, there can be a breakthrough there. But you won't have that breakthrough if you give that up during this time. And then lastly, give yourself a little grace. Be patient with yourself. Faith crises Crises don't resolve overnight. It takes some time to process your emotions and wrestle with your questions and rebuild your faith on a solid foundation. So be kind to yourself and allow some space for some healing and growth. Now, all that said, man, a faith crisis can be painful and really disorienting. But it can also be an opportunity for some deeper growth and transformation. And by facing your doubts head on and seeking support, engaging with that honest exploration, you can emerge from this wilderness of the soul, really, and be on the other end stronger and with a more authentic faith. So if you're in the midst of this faith crisis, I just want to remind you, hey, you're not alone. There's hope for you. There's healing. There's a community of believers that are ready to walk alongside you of this journey. And don't hesitate to reach out for help. Maybe if you don't have anybody that you trust, maybe you reach out to a coach or a counselor. There are people that would love to talk with you and help you through that. And I hope you'll join us again tomorrow for the Healthy Church Start Podcast.